Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be giving you a really useful sound design tip to upgrade your bass lines to the next level. Now this is something I do a lot. It's super helpful because it allows you to get a nice bit of depth added to your bass sound without actually impacting anything that's really important, like your low fundamental. There's going to be no phasing problems if you do stuff like this. It's going to sound really good, and I personally love doing this. I do it quite a bit. Very simple, and I'm going to get right into what exactly I mean by this. So this is a project I've been working on lately, drum and bass track, and we do have our actual bass line here. I do also want to clarify when I'm talking about this, this is not a melody tip. This isn't necessarily about writing better bass melodies. This is more on the sound design side of things. So hopefully this does help you out anyways. But as I say, here is our track, here is our bass sound. Going to very quickly play that for you so you can see what it sounds like before and after we've done this trick. So here's the sound, and I'm going to hit play. So it's not much happening here. We do have our sine wave, which I've just drawn in a few additional harmonics, and of course there's the wavetable where I'm modulating the wavetable position of, and we're also just doing some filtering. But you see, this was a really cool tone. I really liked it. I thought it sounded great on its own, and I thought it sounded pretty good in the mix, but it needed something else. It wasn't quite where I wanted it, and I could demo that as well if I do play. I'll just mute the layer where we've done this trick, and a lead, just so you're hearing drums in the bass. It would sound like this. So I had a couple of problems with that in its current state. I felt, one, it was very mono, so obviously that means there's nothing really interesting happening in the stereo field. You're just getting that center image, and that's it. And compared to the background lead elements and the lead if we did have it unmuted there, those are all wide, and this bass was not up to it. Now obviously there are things you could do, such as throwing dimension expander, anything like that, but the trick here is as simple as layering. I've added a secondary layer, and the way that you sound design this is going to be up to you depending on your track, but in this instance, I've done two different saw waves with their fundamental removed. So if I do show you what that sounds like in the mix instead, we're actually going to do one more without it and then once with it, so it's just fresh in your ears. Original without it sounds like this. And then with the change. So you see, that's a lot better. And as I say, it's just one additional layer. So we're going to solo our bass sounds. There are two of them in this instance. Just got to turn on a couple of automations so it sounds correct. Just like that. Okay. So again, we had our initial patch, which we already took a look at, and the secondary one, which looks like this. So if we play this on its own, here's what it's doing. Now, if you happen to notice, especially up here, or just with your ears, of course, if you have a capable system, there's no sub happening here. That is intentional. This is actually just a saw wave. The reason it looks a little funky is because I went into the oscillator A table edit, and I did the same for B as well, and I just removed that fundamental. This is that way this could play with the other layer, and the fundamentals are not playing over top one another, because then you get weird phasing and it doesn't sound good because it's kind of doubling up, and you'll get that disappearing problem. You don't want that. This is a very important step. This kind of removes the meat of the sound, so if you were to play this on its own, like down here, it just, it's missing that lower fundamental. But again, you have to consider you're layering this, so you don't need it. If you were doing this on its own, you would. But in this instance, because there's something else that's taking care of that, you want it to kind of mash up together well with it, and that's how you do it. So in this instance, I did it twice, once on oscillator A, and another on oscillator B. And the only difference on this one is that this one has 4 voices of unison. So you see, that sounds like this. And then of course I do have on oscillator A, just the mono one. I thought it needed that because this gives it the clarity of being center, and then this is more of the form of stereo support, but both of them don't have a lower fundamental. And you notice what that's really doing, even though it's not too much, it's only 4 voices of unison, and I've just got some chorus on here as well under effects, that's it. That is adding so much to the stereo field. I could demonstrate this very clearly as well if we just mute that layer again so that we are only getting our initial bass. And then we load up this plugin, which allows you to mute the mids of your track. Some devices, this won't actually show up, I think if you're listening on certain phones. But if we mute the mids, you're only hearing the stuff on the sides. With our initial bass sound, see, there's nothing. No sound there, because I didn't design anything there when I was making that patch. But on this one, if your device is outputting that correctly, you could hear something does exist there. And obviously, if we play those both together like that, and we take this back off, if we were to sum this to mono, the side stuff disappears, but it's still just an extra good layer that sounds nice. Now, as I say, this patch is actually going to change depending on your track. In my instance, this sounded good, and I was set to leave it. However, certain tracks you might want to do like a fifth or something. Something I really like doing in here is maybe do this for one of them, maybe even two. Just go up 7 semitones. I'm going to try it on both of these oscillators here. So this would sound if I were to mute this original one. See how the notes actually change because we've gone up 7, but if we play it with the original. So that is a little bit too low, it sounds kind of bad, but typically this will sound good if you go up 1 octave. So let me demonstrate that. So that's a little bright still, it sticks out a bit, but you can see we're getting to the right track. If you were to, say, maybe turn this on so it's following that, and probably just lower the volume of it a little bit, suddenly that sounds good. I don't think that was right for this track, and that's why I didn't do it, but sometimes that is going to be the variation of the patch that you make. And again, you don't have to just follow this exactly. I know this is literally just me showing a sol layer, but you could do this with squares, you could mess with different effects, distortion. This is just a nice stereo layer to beef up your bass sounds. Sometimes it might not even need it. This is just something that if you've made something that's super mono and you want to give it some width without messing with like the phase of the original patch, this is a way you could go about it. And you could see, even though this is a very minimal change, it made a world of difference earlier when I compared how it sounded with and without. It absolutely needed it. And it's just one of those things, as you're making music, you'll get a feel for when to kind of reach for that. This was definitely the right move in this track, and it's as simple as that, and you get a more professional sounding bass. I hope this has helped you out. Again, this is literally just one tip. I do have quite a few things I do to bass sounds, and I'm thinking about making another video where I sort of go in depth on a lot of different tips on how to make these sound good. I am still very much learning, but I do think in this one in particular, it sounded really nice, and I definitely have things that I could share, so let me know if you'd like to see that in the comments below. But that is going to wrap us up here. If you enjoyed this video, if this has helped you out, be sure to drop a like on it and let me know in the comments, as well as subscribe for more future production tutorials like this. But as I say, that wraps us up. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.